Walt Disney World, one of the most popular resort destinations in the world, and rightfully so. I mean, there's thousands upon millions of people that visit every single year, but to the average guest, there's a whole bunch of stuff that they might not even know. So today, I'm here to give you 10 little-known facts about Walt Disney World that you... Number 10. Forced perspective. That's what kicks off our list. It's the appearance of something to look either further away than it actually is, or taller, or wider, or, well, you get the gist. A good example of this would be Main Street, USA. You walk down Main Street and it looks like that the buildings are 3 stories tall. Well, in fact, this is false, as the third story and the second story are smushed together. While that story may be a little taller than the first story, it still shows the use of forced perspective. There's not actually 3 floors, there's just 2. And in Fantasyland, you go to walk in to Be Our Guest restaurant, which if you haven't been, I highly suggest you go, especially during lunch. Their lunches are good. But you take a look at Beast Castle and it appears to be farther away. Well, or at least they tried to do that. It's not that good, to be quite honest. But again, that's forced perspective. The same thing in Galaxy's Edge or Cars Land at Disneyland. Number German word for no. Number 9 is a little bit different. Ride vehicles. If you ever ride Space Mountain or Splash Mountain at Walt Disney World, you know they have 2 separate ride vehicles. On Space Mountain, you sit single-filed as you go through the literal void of space. Splash Mountain, you get to sit next to a buddy, which is cool as you plummet down to the Briar Patch and hopefully not die. This is actually the opposite from Disneyland. As Disneyland's Splash Mountain, you are sitting next to nobody. Everybody's either in front or behind you as you plummet down to the Briar Patch. For Space Mountain at Disneyland, it's 2-seater, so you get to scream next to that partner of yours as you go through the void of space. Number Infinity Verticalized. Liberty Square. It's a land that is a part of the Magic Kingdom. However, if you take a look at Disneyland, they don't have a Liberty Square. They have New Orleans Square, which is home to both Pirates of the Caribbean and Haunted Mansion at their park. So, why do we have Liberty Square while they have New Orleans Square? And why don't we have New Orleans Square? I mean, a lot of people say it's great. It's probably because that Walt Disney World is relatively close to New Orleans. It's a couple states over in Louisiana. So it would make sense that they wouldn't build something like that there. But Liberty Square is actually a little page of something that Walt wanted to do for Disneyland. He wanted to do an off section of Main Street USA called Liberty Street, themed around colonial days. So, when building Walt Disney World, they took that idea, because they didn't develop it for Disneyland, and they put it as a whole area, Liberty Square, which is home to the Haunted Mansion, the Riverboat, as well as, of course, everybody's favorite attraction, the Hall of Presidents. Number everybody's favorite lucky 7. Now, Walt Disney World has a whole bunch of drinks. There used to be a place where you could get a whole bunch of drinks from around the world. It was called Club Cool before it got teared down. Now it's Club Nothing, which is still very sad. No Beverly for you people. But there's another drink that you can only get, as far as I know, at Walt Disney World, and that is pomegranate lemonade. Now, you've probably had strawberry or raspberry lemonade before, and both those are good in their respective rights, but pomegranate lemonade is the greatest lemonade ever, and you can't tell me otherwise. Seriously, it's all I get at Disney World. Unless I need caffeine, then I'll go with a Coke or something. Of course, you can get it at pretty much any quick service or sit-down restaurant. Well, number upside down 9. Number 6 is, once again, Space Mountain. I mean, we talked about it with number 9, might as well talk about it with number 6, right? Now, most attractions started off in Disneyland and then brought over to Walt Disney World. The Haunted Mansion, Pirates of the Caribbean, you get the gist. However, Space Mountain was originally in Disney World. Disney World Space Mountain opened up in 1975, while Space Mountain at Disneyland opened up in 1977. But it's just something that I feel is kind of interesting, as it's one of, well, a couple attractions that started off in Disney World that got put over to Disneyland. The most recent example of this is Mickey and Minnie's Runaway Railway, which just opened. While they were working on that attraction for Hollywood Studios, it was announced that Disneyland would be getting their own version in Toontown. So that goes to show you that there are some attractions that get over to the happiest place on Earth from the happiest place in the world. Number halfway there. Now, with different attractions, there are some that are longer and shorter. Walt Disney World has so much more space than Disneyland did that most of the attractions there are longer. Splash Mountain, the Haunted Mansion, both of those are longer than Disneyland. But there's one other popular attraction that's actually shorter than the Disneyland version, and that is the best attraction of all time, Pirates of the Caribbean. Yeah, that's right. Disneyland's is actually longer, and it's longer because where it's set. At Disney World, Pirates is contained to Adventureland, while Pirates of the Caribbean in Disneyland is at New Orleans Square. Because it's there, they have a little boat journey through a New Orleans bayou, which is near a restaurant. So it's kind of like if you've ever been to the Mexico Pavilion. But because it goes through a bayou, it gives a couple extra seconds to minutes of time for the Disneyland version than the Walt Disney World version. Number 4 for 4 at Wendy's. Dole Whip is one of the best things to cool you off at Disney World. And of course, we all know that there's 2 set flavors, pineapple and then orange got added shortly later. But there's actually multiple other flavors that recently just got added. There's now lemon, raspberry, strawberry, lime, just to name a few. And some of these do sound good, like the lemon and the raspberry, they do sound great. So does the strawberry. Lime I can't get behind, but everybody has their preference. But it's interesting to see how many people just stick with the pineapple when they could have so many other options. Like, if you're not a fan of pineapple, then don't get the pineapple, get a raspberry one. Number 3, or trees. It's been rumored for a long time that there is an underground city under Walt Disney World. And they wouldn't be entirely wrong, but they also wouldn't be completely right. There is a thing called Utilidoors under the Magic Kingdom. Now, the whole reason they have this is because one of the problems with Disneyland is there are certain cast members and also certain characters who have gotten into the parts where they shouldn't have been. For example, you would see Stitch in like Fantasyland or Captain Hook in Frontierland. That does not go well. Or a Tomorrowland cast member in Adventureland, or a Adventureland cast member in Main Street USA. It doesn't work like that. So the Utilidors was invented to make sure that the characters that belong in a specific land get to that specific land without having to cross over. It's simple and easy, but yet effective. Also, it helps with the fact that the sea level at Florida is tied to the ground level. So, number 2. Disney is famous for water is one of them. No, not the water fountains. No, they're water attractions. Now, you would think that they use chlorine. That's what most people use. I mean, it's used in pools and water parks, so naturally you'd think they would use that, right? Wrong. In fact, chlorine for certain people can be very, very reactive to their skin. And so, Disney, keeping this in mind and wanting to have as many people ride their attractions as possible, they used a much more expensive as well as a much better chemical, bromine. Now, if you want to know a little bit more on this, because I am not a chemistry guy, check out a Rob Plays video on bromine. He does a much better job explaining it. I'll link his video in the description below that you guys can check it out. Number uno. Because the last little known fact about Walt Disney World is a concept and a thing called Smellizers. Now you're probably wondering, the heck is that? If you're walking down Main Street, USA, you smell like waffle cones, or churros, or popcorn. Or if you're walking through the queue Pirates of the Caribbean, you smell salt water. Or even better, you're on Spaceship Earth, and you get to the Rome scene where it's burning, and you smell the smoke. This is a concept that Disney uses called Smellizers. They pump out different smells to invoke certain emotions. And of course, it makes people happier. I mean, who wouldn't want to smell freshly baked waffle cones? I know, I would. And with that, that rounds up our video, because those are some 10 little known facts about Walt Disney World. And thank you guys so much for watching. Hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please give it a like, so it can let me know that I can do a part 2 of this. And comment down below, what are some things you knew about the Disney parks? Did you know all of them? Did you know none of them? And if you knew none of them, I hope you learned something. So, with that being said, if you're new to the channel, be sure to subscribe for upload videos on Disney, Marvel, Star Wars, and so much more. I'll see you all in the next video. Have a good day. Goodbye.